So recently, I started replaying Breath of the Wild in the new Master mode. This new harder difficulty is okay. It could definitely be better. It honestly does not change much, and the change it does make is leaning more towards bad change than good change. Enemy health is really high because enemies are one level higher by default, and due to Breath of the Wild's durability mechanic, which I really like by the way, actually fighting enemies is really resource draining. And that's where these new floating enemy bases come into play. You see, they tend to have good weapons and chests on them, and you can usually acquire these weapons without spending too many resources, so it kind of balances out. Anyway, that's a topic for another day, as this video is going to be about how Breath of the Wild treats the player. Replaying Breath of the Wild really had me thinking about what this game does and why it feels so different and fresh. I had this experience while exploring the area below Akala Tower that really stuck out to me and inspired me to create this video. First, let's walk through how this area of the game plays out. As you approach the tower, you will notice this black and purple goo, which you can only assume is dangerous. In order to progress, you need to find a way to cross a section of broken floor. By shooting this eye, you can release a metal board to use as a bridge. After you do this, you get a nice location title on the screen, almost as congratulations for figuring out part 1 of the puzzle. Then, you continue to carry the metal board with you and use it as a bridge to cross more sections of broken terrain. It is now the game decides to throw some bokoblins at you. After dealing with these enemies, you continue forward. If you decide to smash these boxes in the corner to your left, you will find a hidden area, one that I completely missed on my first playthrough. There's also this cool room where the eye originally was, with a nice 100 rupee reward waiting for you. At the top of the ruins, you need to use the metal board one last time to actually start climbing the tower. I really like this section of gameplay. It's a nice bite-sized adventure. However, I missed out on all of it in my first playthrough. Instead of doing all that, you can simply just jump and climb the wall of the ruins and then grab the board and climb the tower. The way I look at it, there are 3 ways a player could perceive what just happened. Player A realized they could climb the wall and skip the entire runaround. This was a cool discovery, and they felt like they outsmarted the game and were left satisfied. Player B realized they could climb the wall and skip the entire runaround. They were left unsatisfied because this provided them with no challenge, and they felt like they had cheated just by playing the game. Player C realized they could climb the wall and skip the entire runaround, but didn't. They realized that they could have more fun by choosing not to skip a cool section of gameplay. Breath of the Wild is built around this crazy concept of rewarding people like Player C, players who are capable of putting off the short-term gain in exchange for a more interesting experience. You see, games have taught us players to want to win really fucking badly, but Breath of the Wild is perfectly okay with letting you throw its content in the garbage if that's what you want to do. This is a game that respects your time and expects you to understand the value and the fun it provides to come from simply playing it instead of being locked behind some arbitrary victory condition. This honestly blows my mind to think about. I have so much respect for this game and its creators for being so humble and making something so damn innovative. You can see this design philosophy reflected in areas all over the game. Take, for example, all of the main story is skippable. Even the fucking Master Sword is skippable. You can finish the game in under an hour. It gives you the final quest right out of the tutorial. If that's how you decide to enjoy the game, it won't judge you. It simply does not care about traditional pacing and progression. People often talk about how open world games and player freedom are misguided because you're sacrificing the tight quality of a more linear and traditional experience. And yes, Breath of the Wild is not a satisfying Zelda experience for this reason. Heck, I'd argue the biggest flaw in this game is the big ZELDA in the title. But why would you want to get another satisfying Zelda experience when 1, so many already exist, and 2, you get this masterpiece instead? This brings me back to my player A, B, and C point. Most people aren't like player C. They want to be challenged and forced to do things so that they can overcome them. When games do this well, it can be very fun and very satisfying. But there's a problem with this. I said when games do this well, but what that really means is when games are the right difficulty for me. After all, we're not all equally skilled at pressing buttons. Breath of the Wild almost circumvents this problem by allowing so much player freedom that you can kind of choose your own difficulty. And I'm not saying there's no challenge to be found in Breath of the Wild. Quite the opposite. It just takes a little maturity and restraint from its player to find and manifest the version of the game that's most fun for them. Anyway, I feel like I'm rambling on about this point now, so I'll wrap it up. I love this game, and I love how it treats me as a player. I want Nintendo and the game developers at Nintendo to know that this innovative freeform approach to design is a breath of fresh air. And I hope that you, the viewer, if you found yourself thinking like player B, maybe experiment a bit with how you play games. Thank you for listening.